Rashad Robert Johnson, known as Smiley, was recently sentenced to 30 years in prison by the Honorable Anthony Salem. He's accused by the state of Florida of running the criminal street gang known as 1200, which includes popular rappers Whoppa with the Choppa, Spinabenz, and Lil Poppa. My name is Bobby Smokes, and these are the charges against Rashid Smiley Johnson. Count 1, trafficking in cocaine. Count 2, possession of more than 28 grams of cannabis with intent to sell with a gang enhancement. Count 3, possession of a controlled substance. Count 4, possessions of a controlled substance. Count 5, conspiracy to traffic in cocaine with a gang enhancement. Count 6, conspiracy to sell, manufacture, or deliver a controlled substance with gang enhancement. Count 7, conspiracy to sell, manufacture, or deliver a controlled substance with gang enhancement. Count 8, keep place where controlled substances are legally held, kept, sold, or used. That's having a trap house. Count 9, unlawful use of two-way communications device. The following story is available at News4Jax. Two Jacksonville brothers convicted on multiple drug charges learned their fate in court Wednesday when a judge handed down a 30-year sentence. Rashad Johnson, 32, and his brother Marquez Johnson, 35, were arrested last year, tried in court together, and found guilty. The drug charges they were convicted of had gang enhancements because the brothers were identified as the leaders of the 1200 Out East gang. Prior to sentencing, relatives of the brothers pleaded with the judge to be lenient, but the prosecutor argued that both brothers had been given multiple chances to turn their lives around. One by one, relatives of Rashad and Marquez Johnson testified before Judge R. Anthony Salem. They were hoping that their testimony would persuade the judge to hand down a lighter sentence after Johnson brothers were convicted on multiple counts of drug trafficking, drug possession, and drug conspiracy charges. I often think about things I could have done differently as a parent. I know my sons could have had a better outcome in life, their parents said. At one point, both brothers addressed the judge and asked for leniency. I don't know what kind of sentence, but I would ask you to be lenient towards me. I have a beautiful family which includes 4 kids and a stepchild, Rashad Johnson said. I am not a bad person. I am not a monster. I'm not a gang member, just a human being who's made some mistakes. I am not labeled as a menace, an animal, a gang member in my community, or anywhere else, Marquez Johnson said. I just want to say I'm sorry to my family for putting you all into this situation. After the testimony, Assistant State Attorney Lauren Anderson reminded the judge why he should impose the 30-year sentence the state was asking for. They had the opportunity to better their lives after serving 3 years in the Florida State Prison. They came back out and continued doing the same pattern of criminal activity that they had done so many times before. They even moved out of their community. But instead of staying out of that community and getting jobs, the court has heard nothing from any of these witnesses about legal jobs they had. They provided for their families, but how did they do that? By selling drugs, Anderson said. Then both brothers stood before the judge and learned their punishment. You are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to 30 years in Florida State Prison with 581 days of credit, Judge Anthony Salem said. As the brothers were being led away, Rashad turned to his family and waved goodbye. State Attorney Melissa Nelson addressed the fact that both men were involved in gang activity that was tied to the distribution of illegal drugs in Jacksonville streets. These two men did not take the different path. They did not take the chances afforded them. They made a different choice, Nelson said. Both men were eligible for life sentences on the drug trafficking charges alone, but the prosecutors felt 30 years was more appropriate.